Hello, this is Mark Farrar with Not Square Design, back working on my personal project. And I had been playing around with DaVinci, just getting ready to post it. And I realized I didn't have anything to start. Doesn't even tell you what I'm doing. So what we are doing today is, through this first portion, is I'm going to be taking and exporting the file from AutoCAD. And if you saw lesson 0, I did call it 0 because it's more of an error issue I was getting, but it does also show how to resolve it if you happen to get that error trying to import an export a DWG from Chief Architect and then Xref it into AutoCAD. If you get an error, it shows you how to get around that. Somehow this resolved itself, and I ended up having the video already posted because I was going to have my guys from tech support take a look at it, but it became unnecessary. So that you can watch first if you want to watch why this kind of just jumps in suddenly, but you don't miss anything. We're going to be going through putting this thing into AutoCAD, and then towards the end, which you can't see on screen unless I click the other side, but down here, this portion is, I've got to get up in the attic. I took pictures. You'll see those in here. You'll see some of the real project aspects and getting the ACAD access in there. So with that, actually, everything kind of drawn for the floor plan basically into my 3D. I want to get framing members and stuff before I close up the attic. And so I've gone up there and I've done a bunch of photos and stuff. And so just to kind of show you sort of my process, I've got our file going here, and then I've got pics. Dealing with electrical issues was one set of pictures. And so I need a new folder that I took today, which is 23.05. I do use European style because it keeps things in order. And then these are just attic. Oops, gotta spell it right. And access photos. And then I also did a bunch of photos of 230511, just to start getting and show you how I would do the layout for all the electrical. Bobby's closet. So I've got photos for both of those. And so all I'm going to do is, now I've got those created, is I have more than one Explorer open, and that's just my preference of the way I like to work. So I've got where I want them to go, and now I need to get them from where they're coming from, which is my camera, or actually it's just my phone. So internal, go to my camera, and I'm going to have a bunch of stuff, including a video that I did. Yeah, there's some. So this is today's date. No, that's yesterday. But I'll bring them all down too. They're all going to be related to this project. So let's just go all the way down till we get to there's 511. So 59 to 511. Oh, those are receipts. Never mind. That's the way I do quick bookkeeping. But there are some kitchen photos in here, and probably some vermiculite. So those, I want to take them all, put them in attic access, because it's so much quicker just to get them over there and then kind of review things than trying to review them on my phone. I'll get them sorted in the proper folders, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm looking north. This is the northwest ridge. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the 8th roof joist, which looks like 2x8 nominal lumber, goes down from a 1x ridge, looking to the east now. At the ridge, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 before I hit the next hip ridge. Chimney is in between. 1, 2, 3, 4. About centered on the 5th joist from the west ridge joist. Looking to the south and back to the west now. And then I will try and come all the way around. Put my headlamp over here. Come all the way around. And should have gone full circle now. And there is a splice here. That's curious. It's bolted. But that's interesting. I can't say that I've seen a splice like that before. There might be one down there. Looks like I see a bolt head. I'm going to take a picture of that. So one of the things that I do have to kind of figure out here is I've got this model that is in here, and this one is selectable. This is the one I grabbed and copied the elements, put them into my template, and then saved it. So I called this one virtual because it's the virtual floor plan, and it's real enough. I mean, it just, I had to give something. The actual is the actual saved exported file, which now curiously exports directly into the floor plan. So when I come here, I can import actual and virtual, and they both work. So I don't know what was wrong earlier, but let's go on to the next thing, which is I've got to get my walls transferred over. Now, what is that line? This line, roof baselines. Now, that's something to do especially with Chief. So I'm not going to worry about that yet. What I'm more concerned about is my wall. And so this is probably siding out here. And it's also called walls normal, but it's the layers that it creates. And there's two lines stacked here. So it's also on walls normal. So when I change this, my layer is white, and I'm not going to be able to see it. Where with my interior wall layer, every time I change its properties, it changes color. So I know I took care of it. So the first thing I'm going to do here is take my walls normal, and I'm going to change its color to the same as my junk label layer color, just the color. So I'm going to, actually, I don't want to change that line. I want to go into the file manager. I want to go to walls normal. Walls normal. I want to change the entire thing. Its color is now 12. And so when I go back, that's, I think, my junk layer color. So these, what does it say? Oh, each one is normal. So if I just switch it to by layer, then I could grab and isolate all those walls normal and make them all by layer. And then they're all instantly be that color. So I'm going to grab one, walls normal, and then I'm going to take that and I'm going to isolate it. So now all my walls normal layers are selectable. The rest are locked. So even though they selected, they should not change. So when I change these to, oh, I just want to change, oh, look at that. It changed to by objects is locked. So it can't be updated. So only the ones that are unlocked, which is the isolated walls stuff. So that changed to 12. And yeah, is it a little dark? Yep, but that's okay, because that's going to tell me, hey, you need to go fix this one. And so all these ones that I had already changed, now when I unisolate, the ones I had changed, they stayed, nothing happened. The stuff I haven't changed because it's not on the appropriate layer, nothing's happened. But now when I go through, what I have to do is you start with one. There's two layers on top of each other. So I could actually, if I wanted to, delete one. I'll do that later. So I'm going to do them all at once when I get to that step. I'll show you how to do them all at once and not have to mess with it. So I'm going to change this to my layer, which is A exterior wall. Now it changed to white because it's set to by layer. But the deal is that the rest of this is not. And then continuous is set to continuous instead of by layer. Now that that's there, one way to deal with this is to go MA and grab my exterior wall, grab another one on the exterior and change it. Grab another one on the exterior and change it. Now that's not this stud, or is it? Let's check that. D. That's 4 1/4. I'm going to say that's a stud. This is the drywall. So if I were to take this layer, it says wall's normal because in Chief it does things that way. Where here, I want it to be on its own drywall layer. This is the exterior wall in layer, but I should be able to delete that. Oh, it didn't take, oh, so here it is here. So when I chamfer these two, because I continue them over windows, the interior wall line goes right over windows, but not over doors. So now when I chamfer these two together, that and this one, no, there's no doors back here. Boom. Got that all the way across. So any of these we'll just grab and delete all at once when we get to that point. And so it's kind of the same thing here. CH. Grab that and come down and grab that. Now this one goes to a door, so it's not continuous. So over here, this guy, I'm going to grab its node and drag it to where I want it to stop at the door. So now that one's good. So if you look, when we get down to it, we're going to do them all at once. But when I delete that, all that duplication goes down to one layer. And so I could pretty much do that for this entire line. And now you can see the way it's supposed to properly show that section. But we're going to do them all at once. Now, I could continue to go through here and do match properties, which is probably, you know, since I've already done that actually for this part, let's finish this. So let's chamfer this one to all the way around. So I'm going to go, yeah, I want to chamfer it. When I grab it, I want the white one. I want to come over here. I'm going to grab it. I want the white one. Now when I repeat that command to grab it, make sure you're grabbing that white one. And that selection cycling is what that's called. It's a setting in your options. And so if I go OP, enter, I go to my options, selection. If you want that selection cycling on, where is it? Maybe you have to put in selection cycling. Maybe it's not in options. In fact, I am seeing that it is not here in options, and I don't see it in drafting. So I don't think it's going to be anywhere else. So I'm going to hit, oh, maybe in display though. Check real quick. It's not in display, so it's going to be select. I don't think it's, yeah, D settings, and so D settings, drafting settings, allow selection cycling. These are the settings that I have for that. If you want it to list old school way of doing it. And I'm not fresh. So I am old school. So I'm going to match properties and I'm going to continue going around. And like I did before, when I get to a door opening line to that, I want that little line. And then I also need, and I could have just kept that selected. That one and that one. And if it's the first one works, you can just keep going. You don't have to tell it what you want. If the first one's it, let's say it's this, and oh, there's only one line there. So now it's just a matter of chamfering that. So CH, my chamfer distance is set to nothing so that it ends up at a point. And I'm going to say that here I'm on the wrong side. So I will check that, but it would appear that This is probably 4 1/4, yep. So I need to move that line from there to there, making sure when I did it that I left one, that there was one underneath it, so that I have one in the right location for what I need later in this. So I had made an error, and now I got a pick line because it wasn't the top one. And then this one's going to extend too far. And so when I see it, I've got to pull it back to here. Now, once I get into my real AutoCAD style of drafting, then that line may not come to this location. But for now, that line also, it's on the doors layer. And that portion, I could do the whole thing with switch the doors. But that one, I don't want it to be on doors with the doors. This is actually a jam. And so it goes here by layer by layer by layer. So all that's good. So if you wanted to, you could actually select all of this, because every line in here, and just have them all by layer. And it shouldn't really change anything except for the fact that when you grab one now, it will be just a matter of it being moved to the correct layer, and it should take on its properties. For instance, this, if that's in the middle, then I want that on the A window layer, and it should turn to cyan, and it does automatically. Now there's text in there, so it's looking like it's broken line, but it's not. That's just text for the window size. So, and then this one, the double line that I have in here is a glaze. And that's because once I've got this A window centered, when I get to my framing plan, I change this to the header layer. And I've already automatically got a header in the right place. And it looks like this is my stud wall in both of these cases is out of the sheeting layer. And so I'm going to move those in. And it looks like I might have to mirror something about that when we get to that point. But that is a correction that it looks like I made it over and over. That same mistake to not have this at the stud wall. That's where I keep it, is at the stud wall. So I'm going to say line to here, line. Now that's fixed, but this is going to be sticking out too far. Have it, pull it back. So it's just a matter of continuing around and doing that with everything. And then I will be back. I did do one of these lines. Can't see it right away, so I'll just do one more. There's also a layer here for drywall, just in case I hadn't shown that. And so then I'll just match properties. Head around, I'll be back. Inch was for OSB or whatever sheeting is out there. I haven't got to that point yet. Then 4 1/4 and then half for the drywall on the interior. And I got this information from one location. And so I don't know if it's consistent. So we're going to have to probably do some determination. But when I open this door, on this jamb here is where I measured my wall information for this location. And then on the front of the house, there is a brick veneer. And it's real 4-inch brick. So that is here. And so the wall definition for a brick wall is slightly different. So it's the Farrar-Hagan brick. And there, I still have a sheeting, no air gap, which hopefully it's not built that way. And then 4 1/4 and ½ inch. There's not a lot of room for moving here, and I can see the brick all the way at the edge. So I think there's no air gap when they put this brick up, which probably veneer put on after the original house sometime in the future by a non-mason. And that can happen a lot in this town, is sometimes some of the newer builders or homeowners that do it themselves deals don't necessarily look up the proper way, and so I have no protection for moisture if this is how it's actually constructed on that brick face. So if my wall ever starts rotting on the front of the house, I know why. Thank goodness it gets morning sun. So now that I understand what my layers are, I can actually take this, go back to my wall type, hit my define, see these dimensions, and then sometimes what I'll do is I'll take and I'll make a new clipping, and I'm going to, so this is my Farrar lap. I guess I don't need to see all of that. I'm more into, there's total thicknesses right there though. Let's get that information. And then I will Control C and put that in my file. And so I have a file like for editing, contact info, the site. And now let's just put as built. And then our first page will be, this is the as built. So I'm looking at exterior wall, so the EXT wall CA definitions. Here I'll just Control V, and there's my wall type. And you can shrink it. I'm at 100%. It's fitting widthwise. If I want to have my other one, I'll just go to it. So back in the other screen, it's just can't cancel this one, go to the other wall, get it, and paste it over there. So now on the other screen, I will have both my wall type definitions, so I can refer to them. And then we'll get this straightened out. So my wall type definition, I can look over there, and let's get this guy straightened out. So on the exterior, I had 7/8 inches siding. And so let's first just check this distance. Oh, missed it. I went there to there. And that's showing 7/8, but I think that is too. Yeah, it shows 7/8 right there. So what I do to verify it is let's do an offset of 7/8 and see if that inner line is just, nope, that's the real one. So this is my sheathing layer. So I'm going to take that, and I'm going to go to A, and I need an S. So I'm going to my structural layers. A, I have a furring layer, but in my structural layers, I have a sheathing layer. And so I got on my structural layers and my wall, shear wall, and then this guy has a yellow, which is a really, really thick line. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is, because I'm doing so much shear stuff lately, is I'm going to change this to a different color. It's great for when we're trying to show shear walls for the actual construction documents, but when I'm doing it on a floor plan, it's not so great. So then my distance from here to here, that's 1/2 inch, and it showed 1/2 inch. So let's just try it, because the other one's not set to my increment, so that is off. So where am I getting this extra? See, if I measure from here to here, it's a nice even 1 3/8. So this fractional deal that's going on in there, that Chief is creating, I can't explain. So I think I want to make a distinction on my own and possibly use like this layer, and let's just mirror it about that, and that's going to become my siding layer, and this outer line won't be. So what I need to do is start to tell myself that this tiny little gap that won't even measure, stays a 0, that doesn't exist. And if I carry that around to all the corners, I'll be able to keep track of it. And like this line, I can get rid of. There's another line under there I could get rid of too, but I just want to see the white and know that I've got it done. So that one, if I hit delete because it was the first on the list, it gets rid of it. So keep that in mind, that there is a quick way to get rid of the there. Let's try and extend this down. Doesn't hit. So what I could have done would be to extend it all the way to here. Now I know it's going to hit. Now I don't know which one it goes to, and there might be some modification that needs to be done here. But it looks good. It looks good. So why did it not extend to this line? Is it that different? That little, I can't even see it not hitting that. So don't understand that, but nonetheless, I'm getting the issues worked out, and I do want my shear to stop at the window and continue on the other side. So I could erase that line, and then we have decided that we're going to use this line because it offsets at 7/8 exactly. No, it doesn't. So that's, now it's confusing to me. So start from the, because this dimension is 4 1/4, so offset 4.25. Let's just check it. So that's right on. So I'm going to undo that. So that is a good layer. Now at 4 1/4, I'm offset 0.5. That's a good layer. So then when I offset the 7/8, that's my good layer. So this is going to become my siding, which I just call it the veneer. Even though it's not like a lower veneer, it's a good layer to put it on. It works for the way that I draw. If you want a separate layer for siding, you can do so. I don't need it. We don't show siding for much except to figure out spatial relationships. It's much like drywall. I do that because when it comes down to cabinetry in my kitchen, I want to know where the drywall is. Other than that, I really don't care. So in these closets, I don't care if there's drywall in there. It just happens to be drawn by Chief, so I'm keeping it. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother with drywall in these areas. I wouldn't put it there. It's just not worth the time. It's not worth the effort. If there's not something that goes up against it, you don't need it. And then the way these windows are drawn is not the way that I would draw windows, but in my case, I have sills in this house. So I'm going to keep those too, to have that level of detail in this. And then I'll probably get real sill dimensions at some point and put those in. And so until I get to that point, it just, oh, that one. See, so this, now you can see where this guy, if I pull it, I'm going to pull it until I am perpendicular to here, and it didn't. Oh, I had my erase command still invoked, so just hit undo and it should be there. So it's fixed. Now I can mirror it around the window and end up with a piece to finish here, or I can just match properties. But let's get back to finishing around now that I've kind of filled you in on some of the detail of the hows, the whys, and where I get my what line for what. And since we have got some determination that this is what we're working with, I'm going to follow this around now that I've dimensionally verified that these work. Here's another quick little time saver. So if I erase, like, I know that this, I've already verified my siding. I've been coming around with my siding. So I'm going to get rid of that line, and I'm going to extend it out to this line because it's beyond where I need to be. And then one of the tricks I'll use is I'll just mirror that around a 45 degree. I happen to have a line here, but if your puller snaps down here include a 45, then you can also do this without even having a line there. So I've done that, and now it's come all the way across, and I do have to trim it out, but it's there. And so if I have this one here, so I've got CH there to here, now I've got siding all the way around the house. This stuff out front, that's brick. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim to here because I've got to figure out what is my distance here, because this should be 4. And I have a feeling it's going to fall just, now that's weird. Maybe it's only 3. 3 3/8. So I must have measured 3 3/8. So how I can check that is go to my drawing and look and see what I've got. So for here, I've got a 4 1/4 brick over the 1/2 inch. So on the front, this doesn't exist, this line. It's going to probably be from here back to here, 4 3/4, and then I've got a 1/2 inch. So to this guy, here's my 4 1/4. So that's my brick. So this line on the front of the house doesn't exist. So then my brick veneer, I'm going to take that back to be perpendicular to here. And you can see it's got a little bit of that weird offsetness, but that might be useful to keep track of some stuff here. And so I'm going to come out to this point, then I'm going to trim back. I'm on my roof layer, which is the same color. I want to change those properties real quick before I lose it. Now this guy offset out there had nothing to do with anything but me taking a guess at what I was looking at, and that guy just deleted me. The white line clear. There's probably the same thing here, but looks like I haven't brought my white line all the way across, so I need to get one anyway. And that does go all the way across, so if I delete this for a second, okay, so let's take that and delete it. Now, what is this guy? It looks like I did on my layer system. So I accidentally copied that, but mine crossed my windows typically. So this will come all the way over to its mate there, and then this would go away. So this gets pushed all the way through. Now how I'm going to deal with the jam and chief versus the way I like this to be, because now when I get to foundation plans, I just offset this for my foundation. Offset in for a stem wall, that's 8 inches. This line is different on a different layer than my interior line for that reason, that I can manipulate it and turn this layer off on the foundation plan and use this line as is. So Xrefing in the floor plan, then if any changes occur, they just pick up right away, right into the foundation plan. So some shortcut items. And so now that I've given you those, I'm going to just wrap this up. I do have, of course, this guy, which is, you know, it's the A doors layer. And so how I'm going to deal with this that is a little different than the rest is there's my A doors layer. So it's pretty much the same color. But if I just go around all these and I'm on the A door layer, I want it to be a block. So I'm just going to go REC there. Now I can actually erase that minus that, and then there's going to be a second line under that. So now that's clear. I could do a match properties, and I just got a door. Now if I block these together, I'd have my actual door symbol. And obviously this is not quite how I draw it, but it works. So that's a door. I will show you when it's done. And in case you didn't catch that, save, 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 save. Okay, so I've got a lot of it done. Not complete, but I got to switch projects here pretty soon, so I want to get this portion done. So I want to go down to S, and that's my structural layer. So I'm going to go to Fram joists. And I'm just going to draw a line in here, and then I'm going to draw a line here, and a line here, and a line here. And then if I go to my photographs and go look at the attic access photos, I took some right there at the opening, and so this is the opening one, that line I drew across this direction. There's another one there, and then one more over here, and then this extends all the way across, then I'll run and grab measurements and we'll get it in here the way it's supposed to. but just so that you see what I'm doing, that's what that was. So I'm going to offset this, offset 3 inches there, and then I'm going to guess that other one's about 10. And then we'll get some measurements, and this goes beyond this one. And so I would assume this is the same, so I'm going to just get rid of that. Let's just copy that down. Actually, I shouldn't even do that. I should just wait and do them all at once, because then I'm saving my time, because these all terminate wherever this guy is. So I'm going to grab some measurements, and then we'll get this in here. So I still got to get the bottom portion, but just get rid of these. So crossed this from out to out. So that just means on center. So I'm going to offset. The first one is 27. And the next one is 3.125, which is, if you go ODO, you're going to end up with on center. And the next one is 9.125. So this was a truly OTO, so it was outside to outside. So that means I need to move that up 1.5, the thickness of itself. Now, the distance from here to here, out to out, is 34. So it's 35 and a half. Oh, minus 34. Minus 1.5. So this should be 23. Okay, it was 27. So, 25 and a half. That's right. Okay, so that's good. So I'm going to get rid of this one. And then I've got 34 OTO on this, so it's 32.5. Offset 32.5. So there's my shape, with some exception. These terminate inside of there, and these terminate inside here. Take a look at the pictures to verify afterwards, but now I'm just going to chamfer these for right now. We'll get this done properly. I don't even have, my line weights are horrible. When I do these, when we get them to the right length, I'll give you an example. So let's do these two right now. So property-wise, I want it to be a line-dash-line and be just one of those. So if it's not, it doesn't show that it is a member. So that's a line-dash-line. So that's one joist. That's old school. So we always drill things by hand and just using line types. It doesn't tell you where things start and stop. So when you have a beam in line with a beam, you're trying to stop complex loading situations. It's nice to know what's going on. So now, with the east being this direction, my offset from drywall here was 8 inches. So offset 8, and that's pretty darn close. Good guess, Mark. Finally. So let's move this, that, and that from there, and I know it's going to come down here somewhere. So to near here, get away from that edge. Now I can get rid of that, and oh, that's not right, because this is going to be over that door, so I brought it down too far, but maybe not. According to this, got 5 inches off of here. Offset 5. Huh. Let me check that. That just looks like, how does this vent work? But it comes down and it actually shoots out over the door. So that's probably right. And the curve in the ceiling, they probably squeezed it in there. So all these ceilings are, they're radiused quite a bit. I'm going to just look up and say the radius is probably a 6-inch radius on every corner up there. Now, the distance from here to here, just as a verification, was 8. And so if I look at that, that's 9. Oh, but it is to the 1/4 inch. So if I offset this 0.75, get my edge. Then I have a ½ inch all the way around, 0.5, of the piece that holds the lid in there. So if I were to just take this, put it on my junk layer for now. So just my personal drafting layer. So now I've got my supports in there. Now this line is to that line. So this whole system moves from here to here. And then off of this line was 8. And then off of here it was 8. Now, what I want to do is I want to mirror this around this corner. Oops. Again. Come out 45. Boom, got it. Now I could chamfer this if I want to clean it up. I don't have to. These are my junk layers, so they're for my information. And then I want to mirror this about, I want to come off this guy because this is where my opening is. And now I can chamfer that, and then you can see the opening itself. If I mirror that about the midpoint of this guy, that certainly doesn't, oh, it's because this is coming all the way to the end. So I need to mirror these two off of this black corner to get it to come out to where it's supposed to be. So now I can chamfer and I'll have my opening complete. Then my measurements are to this line here. Drywall to that line that I could easiest see. And so this was 5. We'll set 5. So that one I got right. And this was 8. So that's 8. Now, the other one I'm not really sure of is I might have done this incorrectly, but I can run up there. There's a ladder still there. I'm going to go double check that one because I might have measured to the radius. I might have had my tape up too high. So to me, it looks like both of them were off, offset 10 when I come, instead of standing on the ladder, I just did them from the floor. And then offset 8.5. And hopefully this will start to agree with the other side. So I'm going to move that and that and all of that and that line. We're going to take it from this to right there. And then look at that. Wow. Okay, that's telling me I probably got it right. So yeah, taking a shot at it by eye, getting that close, I'm going to call it a win. So looks like I grabbed my trim with it. I'll put that back. So there's my attic access. So that looks pretty good. And now I'm a little more happy with the way that that's sticking out over this space. And these I've been temporarily moving to my label. But nonetheless, that looks terrific. Got my opening there. And now in the next segment, I'm going to start laying in the trusses and such on a spacing. So next we go.